Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Gabriel Barafio. I looked at FedEx Corporation for my capstone project. That's where I currently work. So I'm excited to uh, bring what I learned in this analysis to my professional role at FedEx. Agenda is as follows. So first we'll introduce the company, give it a quick overview, and then go into the external and internal analysis of the company using things like the five forces model, SWOT analysis, and more. Uh, Next, we'll look at the organizational strategies, core competency, and their structure, followed by their ethics, leadership, and social responsibility practices. Uh, Finally, we will look at we'll provide an overall assessment of the company and provide any recommendations. So FedEx was founded in 1971. They're going on 50 years of operation this year. They employ roughly 600,000 people and serve over 220 countries and territories. Their package volume is 18.5 million on average every day, and their revenue was roughly $70 billion for fiscal year 20. You can see at the bottom there they have a massive fleet with over 200,000 vehicles and almost 700 airplanes. So the external environment for FedEx isn't really subject to one industry alone. There's multiple, so transportation, logistics, courier, e-commerce, and parcel. Those are some of the main industries in which they operate. But overall, this industry between all competitors is a very customer-oriented environment because they rely on their customers heavily to ship goods from point A to point B and really drive that volume. So across the industry overall, there's been a large surge in volume, which has helped FedEx and other companies grow. And then looking at the right-hand side there, you can see that in Europe alone, the courier industry produced $394 billion in 2019, which is comparable to Norway, their annual GDP, 28th largest economy in the world. So here are the key rivals for FedEx Corporation. There's FedEx, UPS, Amazon Logistics, DHL, and the Postal Service. You can see all of them are very large businesses serving many countries all over the world. UPS actually has the most revenue with $84 billion. And these business models are pretty unique to each company. So companies like the Postal Service and UPS use unions. FedEx and DHL have a contractor model, and then Amazon Logistics hires its own drivers. So looking at the pestle analysis for the external environment, these first three items, political, economical, and legal factors, are definitely the most significant for FedEx's operation. Social, technological, and environmental are still important. With social, again, technology, I apologize. With e-commerce growing, it continues to fuel package growth and volume across the industry. And then with technology, again, AI-driven shopping, online retailers are making it easier to purchase products and ship them to a house or a business. So technology definitely fuels that growth as well. And then environmental, FedEx's operations have to be in compliance with these regulations, making sure that they're operating toward a greener society. Just as an example of the political, economic, and legal risk, things like the US-Chinese trade conflict that started in 2018 are an excellent example of how FedEx is kind of subject to some of these risks. So if two countries are in a trade war or trade conflict and they impose tariffs, these tariffs can actually affect GDP negatively. There's direct impact and indirect impact. So that would be like uncertainty, volatility in the market. And we can see that although these numbers may be small for US direct impact, China direct impact, because their GDPs are so large, that would still equate to, for US's direct impact alone, almost a loss of $40 billion. So looking at the five forces analysis, bargaining power of customers, this is sort of different for different sizes of customers. So for small customers, they don't really have any power over FedEx because FedEx has so many customers, it wouldn't be significant to them. However, large customers such as Walmart actually do exercise some power. They can actually threaten integration and decide that they want to ship their own products, sort of like how Amazon has entered the market as well, delivering their own products. Bargaining power of suppliers is pretty low for FedEx because they're a massive company. They don't really have high switching costs from supplier to supplier, and they really don't have too many suppliers that they would need other than vehicles, equipment, raw materials for facilities. Threat of new entrants and threat of substitute products are both low. This industry requires large capital requirements, physical locations and advanced networks to actually sort packages across the country. And then there's really no other substitutes for services like FedEx or UPS. Finally, the competitive rivalry is very high in this industry. There's five main competitors who are all very large, and exit barriers are high. So overall, five main competitors operating in this environment or in this industry. Pestle factors show that political, economic, and legal forces are the most significant to FedEx. And the five forces analysis showed us that competition is very high and bargaining power of buyers for companies like Walmart can be high. And then COVID-19 obviously just proved that these services like FedEx, UPS, Postal Service, all these services are essential. So looking at the company's internal environment, their mission and goals are listed below. So they want to produce financial returns, meet customer requirements, build relationships, prioritize safety, and conduct their corporate activities with ethical and professional standards. These are pretty similar to other competitors as mission statements as well. Most customers want to meet their customer needs, produce returns, and grow their business, and then obviously have a community mindset. So some of FedEx's long-term goals are to increase their earnings per share each year by 10 to 15%, grow profitable revenue, achieve 10% operating margin, improve their cash flows, increase their returns to both shareholders and invested capital. So looking at the company's 10K report for the last 5 years, we're able to develop a ratio analysis across several different areas like profitability, liquidity, cash flow, etc. So one of FedEx's goals was to maintain an operating margin of 10% or better. We can see that the company hasn't done that in the last 5 years, so this is definitely an area of opportunity for them, as well as their profit margin the last 2 years has been really low and really kind of shown no improvement. They have actually been able to produce earnings per share going from $2.06 to almost $5, and they actually have beat consensus estimates for the last 3 quarterly reports as well. One other thing that's pretty important is this cash flow, the operating cash flow ratio. So this is just a proportion of their cash flow to net income, and it shows that the company is producing a lot of cash for the revenue that it generates and the income that it produces, which is good. So looking at the goals compared to that financial analysis, earnings per share looks good for the company. Again, they have increased earnings per share year over year and beat estimates. FedEx is struggling to achieve high margins, especially profit and operating margin. They haven't hit that 10% mark yet. They do have high cash flows, and they've been able to increase their cash and cash equivalents by 2.5 million year over year. And then finally, their capital structure, they have a debt to equity ratio of over 3, which indicates that they finance a lot of their activities using debt rather than shareholder equity. So this is something to consider as well. So also looking at the internal environment, we were able to perform a SWOT analysis. So compared to FedEx's competitors, some of their strengths are their business model, their organization of having separate operating companies. So having FedEx Express dedicate their operations to air, network, and international, ground doing obviously overseeing their ground network in the United States and Canada, and then also other operating companies for express, logistics, supply chain, etc. Recently, they announced that they were going to do 7-day delivery for home delivery. This has been a huge win for FedEx. This is something that no other competitor is currently offering. So also they're able to manage their increased volume a lot more with this 7-day delivery, 7-day operation. Recently, they acquired TNT Express of Europe, which is a large win for FedEx. That way they can expand into the European network a little bit more, and they were able to purchase some existing assets like their ground network in Europe as well from this acquisition. Looking at weaknesses, so FedEx doesn't really offer any other services besides shipping and supply chain logistics solutions. They have a limited capacity network capacity, so this extra volume brought on by COVID and e-commerce growth is challenging their network capacity. And then finally, again, with this limited network capacity, sometimes FedEx has to offer surcharges and extra fees for the customer, which can potentially hurt their brand. Opportunities and threats. So one of the biggest opportunities for FedEx, and this actually kind of ties into why their operating margin is low, is because of residential and commercial deliveries. So residential deliveries are not as profitable as commercial deliveries because the density is a lot lower. So the cost remains the same, but they're not making as much profit on each stop as maybe a commercial delivery with 5 packages delivered. Automation is continuing to kind of drive the direction of this industry moving forward. So this is an opportunity for FedEx to become an industry leader. And then obviously emerging geographic markets like you saw with the acquisition of TNT. And then finally threats. Their contractor model at ground could pose risk moving forward as their business services might change. Again, geopolitical affairs and then new rivals entering the market, Amazon and Uber logistics. So here's the organizational structure of FedEx. You can see the corporation looks over all these subsidiaries. FedEx pursues a generic business strategy of focused differentiation. So this is seeking to create higher value for customers while containing costs. They're able to do this using partnerships and innovation amongst their own team members. So recently they announced a partnership with Microsoft, creating FedEx Surround, which offers real-time data insights. This can be really helpful for things like time-sensitive deliveries, as an example, vaccine shipments. And then there's a quote from Microsoft actually talking about how it will be beneficial. So their core competency is reliability and speed of deliveries. FedEx Services helps to support this core competency because they have their own in-house IT support, marketing support. This allows companies like Express, Ground, and Freight to focus on their core business, which is moving packages, getting packages delivered. So FedEx's corporate diversification strategy is a related constrained diversification. They're able to do this again with their separate operating companies. They're able to achieve economies of scale and then share their resources, capabilities, and core competencies amongst each operating company. You can see it would be related diversification because FedEx Express, the largest subsidiary, actually only produces 51% of their overall revenue. So the competitive strategy that FedEx pursues is twofold. Again, it's composed of the generic business strategy, composed of the generic business strategy, focused differentiation, and the corporate diversification strategy of related constrained diversification. The organizational structure of separate operating companies allows them to leverage that core competency of reliability and speed of deliveries. So ethics, leadership, and responsibility. So I do see I'm running out of time here, so I'm going to go to the overall assessment. So essentially, FedEx operates in a competitive and dynamic environment. The external pressure creates difficulty maintaining profits. The company is aligned in 3 different ways: their business strategy, diversification strategy, and their company culture. Opportunities are growing and maintaining margins, Lack of economies of scope, so they have little diversification in what they offer to customers, and there's no independent governance from their board of directors.